This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
We need to sort of set the table, Jim, and I'm sure you're tired of talking about it. I think we all are, but this show really gets started at the curtain call. We've covered it in the archives, and I believe that was even our second show that we ever did together. But at the Raw tapings after In Your House, Beware of Dog, and before the second Beware of Dog show, because as we'll recall, there was a power outage, and I did sort of a do-over on Tuesday. The build for the King of the Ring begins with qualifying matches, and unbelievably, Jake Roberts beats Triple H to qualify. Meltzer would write, Jake pinned Hunter in 10:30 after a DDT, and Roberts put the snake on Triple H after the match as well. The result was almost certainly punishment for the incident at Madison Square Garden on June 19th, where Helmsley, Michaels, Diesel, and Razor Ramon did the curtain call in the ring after the show, violating kayfabe big time. There was a sizable amount of internal heat regarding the wrestlers doing it, and even though the majority of fans had left before Michaels finished his post-match routine, it was mainly the hardcores left who liked it. Anyway, since they couldn't punish Diesel or Ramon since they're leaving, and Michaels is the company's golden boy and top draw, it's Helmsley who was the one who was made the example out of. Now, a few years prior to this, I don't think anybody would have thought losing to Jake Roberts was some sort of punishment. But in 96, that's certainly the way a lot of people felt about it. How'd you feel about it?
Well, it was, I think, a reprimand type thing. You could say maybe. But there was some punishment involved in it, I guess. I think not that Jake put Jake over. It was the fact that Hunter was going to win it.
Right.
And that had been planned. And as a natural step in his maturation creatively. So that got taken, and all for those guys going to business for themselves. You know, everybody looks at things differently, man. And I thought it was a lack of institutional control, quite frankly. The guy shouldn't have done it, in my view. But they loved each other so much. They had to say goodbye. It was the Garden. It was bullshit. That's what it was. Oh, the hardcores thought it was cool. What, all 8 of them? So come on. I wonder how. I'm not even going to go
there. No, you can't tease us like that. What were we thinking?
Well, they're so indebted to each other, and so they're such great friends. I wonder how often they talk now.
Right.
So my point is, was it really that big a deal, or was it just for them to show their defiance that they could do what they wanted when they wanted because of who we were? And you got to blame Vince for a lot of that, because he let a lot of that shit slip by. You know.
At this point, are you Vince McMahon's right hand man yet?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No. I was not. But I could have stopped it if I was his right hand, left hand man, his ambidextrous man. That's what they wanted to do, and Vince was going to support those guys. Sometimes bookers, owners, whatever, can be too gracious in their quest to be talent friendly. I thought that was an example of that. And so after all these years, so you said 25 years?
Yeah.
I don't, the only thing that keeps that alive is people like you and me, quite frankly. So, at any event, it did tie into the story we're telling today, and certainly was a catalyst for the change in creative direction. And by a stroke of luck, we backed into a good one when Stone Cold was the winner. It worked, and it worked everlastingly, long-term wise. Good launch, good awareness for Stone Cold, and there we went. All the stars seemed to realign as that night went along.
Talk to me a little bit about talent friendly. You used that phrase a minute ago. That sometimes owners or bookers or what have you can sometimes be talent friendly to their detriment. I don't know if that's always been the rap on Vince McMahon. Is this newfound, I don't know, feel good Vince McMahon necessary because now Nitro is a thing. WCW's got some real money behind it, and they're trying to make a new move? Or is it more based on, hey, we're not able to, I don't know. I've always been fascinated by the Shawn Michaels, Vince McMahon relationship. And I'm trying to dig into because it feels like he had a great relationship once upon a time with Hogan and his other top guys, but I don't know that he would have just acquiesced to anything that a Brett or a Mabel or a Flair or whoever else was champ sort of in between.
Yeah.
Talk me through that. Is it born out of necessity with WCW on the rise?
Somewhat born out of necessity, but as I said before, Vince and Shawn have always had that a strong bond, and it's bonded together with the fact that Vince saw a little bit of himself as far as being defiant, attitudinal, that type thing with Shawn. So they were connected in that respect, even though they had great arguments, and any argument great. They had significant arguments, but I just think Vince just for whatever reason, he just had a special affinity for Shawn.
I feel strongly that saving money is important. If it's not something we worry about now, boy, we are really going to worry about it later. And I want to help you get out of debt faster and do it with cheaper monthly payments. I'm talking to you if you're in a 30-year loan. Now is the time to take years off of your loan. We're routinely helping our listeners cut 5, 10, even 15 years off their loan. And you can do this without perfect credit with no money out of pocket. You've just got to start at savewithconrad.com.
Michael said this might have been Conrad. God forbid this could be this. The fact that he was arguably the number one or number two worker in the world at that time.
Yeah.
And we have built so much around Shawn, and rightfully so. I mean, God dang, he was great. And I'm glad he's still there in the company. He can help a lot of people. I'm sure that he does. But I thought that thing of the Garden was just a kind of selfish. It was we're going to defy tradition. We're going to turn our back on kayfabe in this very world's most famous arena because we want to and we can. And a lot of the other guys that I heard from were not happy about it. I guess essentially, as they would say in Oklahoma, a lot of the talents just thought that Shawn and those guys got too big for their britches, and they flaunted it. So, but I think Vince, he also saw that the WCW element becoming more prominent, that we needed to be more talent friendly. But I think that's not just the top guys. You should be talent friendly to everybody. And but anyway, yeah, I don't think it was just I think it was error in judgment all the way around. Everybody involved just if they would say, because of their defiance and their independence and the fact they'd made a lot of money and mailbox money and they'd saved their money, I guess, they just had a belief that they could get away with anything. And so then that led to this King of the Ring, where Hunter, we planned on being the next King of the Ring.
I feel strongly that saving money is important. If it's not something we worry about now, boy, we are really going to worry about it later. And I want to help you get out of debt faster and do it with cheaper monthly payments. I'm talking to you if you're in a 30-year loan. Now is the time to take years off of your loan. We're routinely helping our listeners cut 5, 10, even 15 years off their loan. And you can do this without perfect credit with no money out of pocket. You've just got to start at savewithconrad.com.
Was taken out of that equation because of what happened at the Garden. So, and a lot of people will disagree with me on this too. Look, Kevin Nash is one of my best friends. I like Kevin a lot. I've known him forever. I got him on my radio show that we air here on the Ad Free Network.
Yeah.
Like it drops on Fridays. Kevin was the frequent guest. I had always had a lot of time for Kevin, and I still do. But I think, Vince saw, well, we lost these two guys. They're leaving. And maybe I need to tweak my PR game a little bit with talent. So, but did he turn over a brand new leaf? Not really. He just became more aware of talent's needs and the changing philosophies of a lot of talents in that era. The business was changing, and this was one of those significant changes.
Did you think the business was changing? I'm not saying that to be funny, but I think sometimes a guy like you who's been around, he could say, well, no, the same thing draws it's always drawn. You need a protagonist and an antagonist and a good story, but you got to have a hot heel and blah, blah, blah. It feels like, some of the formulas of what's worked in wrestling for decades, that didn't change. But a lot of people felt like, oh no, it's all different now. It's shades of gray. Where did you land on that?
Well, I never was a big shades of gray guy. I think you're overthinking the business and trying to reinvent something that's already established. I thought the business was changing somewhat in the attitudes of the talents, and the fact that the online stuff started to creep in and have a little effect on communication. But I didn't ever think that we were going to deviate so far away from, well, we don't need baby faces, we don't need heels, because that's too wrestling. Too wrestling. That was one of the best deals. I'm sure you heard that others.
Yeah.
That's too wrestling. I never really agreed with that. So, but the business is changing in little subtle ways, but the primary one was, in my opinion, it's how you interacted with talent, and that you need to communicate closer with talent, allow talent to express themselves and to participate in their creative. The smart business there is that once one does that, the talent will then make a more emotional investment to get their creative over, if they've had any hand at all of significance to create their own creative journey. So I think we all learned something there in that regard. So maybe at the end of the day, the curtain call it certainly wasn't the end of the earth. It was just a stark departure from the traditions that the business had been fostering long before I got into it in the 70s.
I'm curious, when you're sort of running through all of that, you said something like, well, that's when the internet started to. So the idea is, all of a sudden, as the internet grows and technology grows, there starts to be more coverage of the professional wrestling business online. That's certainly the case here in 96. You were with Vince a lot longer than 96, of course, though. I'm fascinated to hear, did you ever once in your life hear Vince McMahon say something like, what's the internet think of this? Or what are people saying online about this?
No.
Yeah.
No. It was out there and was aware of it, a lot of us read Meltzer's Observer. I know Bruce and I both did. And there are a lot of others, Ed Cohen, who did the buildings. And Howard was the key guy. Howard was the town crier with all that. It kept everybody aware of what was being said online in case we missed it. And oftentimes we did miss it because there's an awful lot of things being said. So, but Vince will get downloads. Oh, by the way, Vince, this is online. This is the hot rumor today, or whatever. But he never, not at least to me, he did. Wouldn't talk about it occasionally, but especially when something leaked that we knew came from a talent. That's disheartening when things leak and it comes from one of the participants in the equation. Not cool. So that happened a few times. But no, he was not I'm sure he's more aware of it now, because digital and the internet and all the sites and everything that's out there, people trying to make a living off pro wrestling through their sites and their hits and all that stuff is very prominent, more than ever. So but he didn't overreact to the internet. We just were all aware that it was there and that a lot of our own people were talking.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.